Hello, I'm Rock the Jake, and welcome to another episode of Game and Think, the show that brings the lesser heard thoughts of a gamer to the front of your attention. Today we're going to talk about how video game developers use Easter eggs in their games. Basically, here's the thought. How do Easter eggs that acknowledge older games in a series affect newer games? This is a bit more of a subjective thought, but it's still worth discussion. Sometimes in movies, cartoons, and video games, the makers will put in a little Easter egg or throwback to something that they did before in the newer material to show fans that they still remember and care. This technique in gaming can also be used to help make new emotions and experiences to add to a video game. A small but fun example of the Easter egg enhancement in games is Super Mario Galaxy. In one of the galaxies, the player can go to a planet that has a Luigi's Mansion style and feel to it. And of course, the level also has Luigi's Mansion in the title. In the level, you can find Luigi cowering in a secluded area, which adds to the level's charm and, for those who played Luigi's Mansion, brings back quick but fond memories of the game. It's a fun little throwback to a good game, and it shows everyone's favorite scaredy cat brother, Luigi. Another example of this idea is in Sonic Adventure. This game actually pulls off the idea in two different ways. First, it brings back the design and mechanics of the pinball game Sonic Spinball. This pinball mechanic is still used to this day, and in fact, was most recently used in Sonic Generations. The other way that the game pulls off this idea is including a Knight's pinball machine, full of cards of the characters and even a run-through of the classic Knight stage. Now, one could say that this is simply Sega including a cool-looking character for looks, or showing an obvious Easter egg and saying that they remember the game through it. But the fact that years later they released a Knights game for the Wii shows that it was also a bit of foreshadowing, a way of keeping the series fresh in people's minds for a while until the new game came out. On one level, the nods are pure game design, adding depth and content to the game. But on another level, they're an homage to either a classic enduring playstyle for Sonic, or a game that many people adore and feel is underrated. A more recent example of this thought, though, is in the game Journey. In the game, there is a desert level where the player has to free flying carpets from holdings and discover the top of an ancient city. While in the level, the player can discover a lone flower in one area. When you go up to it and make your resonating sound, the flower makes the same sound from the game Flower, and you get a trophy for discovering it. It's also a nice metaphor of beauty in a desert. Later in the game, during the swimming level involving the giant tower in the middle of the room, the player is able to come across the main creature from Flow after filling the room with watery light. Wrap your head around that concept. The creature reacts with its own sound and swims around a bit more vigorously. Both inclusions from previous games are well placed and add to the feeling, the atmosphere, and even the lore of the game, connecting all three games together in a way. Now, the Easter eggs concept isn't perfect, of course. Sometimes if it isn't implemented right, it'll come off as cheesy or cheap, and occasionally even insulting or downright offensive. A recent example of this is in the game Devil May Cry DMC. There's a scene in the game where a white wig conveniently falls onto Dante's head, to which he makes an unnecessary and snarky remark. I ain't showing it. You think I'd show it? Capcom would wreck me. Like this! Ow! Oh! Ow! Ow! Stop! Ow! No! 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 But it's infamous now. You can find it anywhere. Another problem is the possibility of using it as a bad gimmick by just making references. References can be fun, but they need to add to the story and help it move instead of just halting it and saying, "Hey, remember this?" Yeah? We do! Uh-huh. Okay, just want to say that. As I mentioned earlier, this technique, this idea in particular, is a bit more subjective than previous topics. But when it's done right, it adds to the experience in a good way. It makes the player feel good, or just feel in general. These days, a lot of games come by that make us widen our eyes a bit here and there, but most of the time just roll by without many notable moments. So when a studio or development team has been around for a while and has a chance to implement this technique in a clever way, it's definitely worth trying it. Well, I gotta get going. Got some thinking to do. Peace out. Hey guys, thanks so much for watching. I really love Easter eggs, just like anybody else. And if this video made you think any differently about how they're used in video games, go ahead and talk about it in the comments section. I'd really like to see some discussion. And hey, if you're feeling it, go ahead and hit that subscribe button, because trust me, it'll help. Special thanks to Family Jules for letting me use his version of Guile's theme. All the credits are down in the description below. And again, thank you so much for watching.